Hello there, Johannes Whiskey Lore, and time for another whiskey tasting. Bringing back an old friend. I have an announcement to make, so I thought, well, since I'm going to make that announcement, I will go ahead and do a tasting of a Colorado whiskey because I am heading to Colorado this August. Now my schedule's together, and I have been really looking forward to visiting a couple of distilleries I haven't been to before. I have been to Stranahan's, and I've been to 291 in Colorado Springs. Where I haven't been is to Boulder Spirits, Talnua. Now, I've had Patrick on the show, but I haven't actually been to the distillery yet. He's the one that turned me on to pot still whiskeys. And then I also want to go to Leopold Brothers to see the 3-chamber still. So going to try to work all of that out while I'm in town, also going to a convention at the same time. So it'll be an interesting experience because I thought about renting a car and maybe even driving out to Breckenridge and going to see that distillery, but I think I'm going to ditch the rental car and just go around on the train because I actually got a hotel near the train, and so I should be able to ride that in. Do something very un-American. I'm going to be basically taking the subway around town, which you folks on the East Coast, in the northeastern cities, you're like, yeah, we do this every day. But for the rest of the country, it's a little unusual, and so I'm going to give that a shot. So there'll be some stories to talk about then, and maybe some whiskey samples to discuss. But I wanted to pull this one back out. I'm actually shocked when I look at this bottle and I see how little of this I've had to sip, because my other 291 bottles are much lower, but I think in a way I have kind of avoided drinking the barrel proof stuff and been more soaking down the stuff that is the lower proof. It's not that I have anything against barrel proof, I definitely do not, but for some reason for the last year or so I've just been more interested in tasting stuff probably under maybe 100 proof and below, but doing occasional barrel proofs. This is their Colorado Bourbon whiskey. Now this is not a straight whiskey, so they do not have to tell you how long it was in a barrel. My understanding is that they aged this in 10-gallon barrels. You can see by the color, it has picked up a nice bit of color in there. It is barrel number 658. The way they age their whiskeys, towards the end, they put a aspen wood stave in there to give it a Colorado flair. And so we're going to do a tasting and nosing on this. And the thing about their whiskeys are they use malted rye. And to me, malted rye makes their bourbon very much like a rye. Not just like a high rye. It almost tastes more like a rye than it tastes like a bourbon. And so this, at 61.6 ABV, is a dream to the rye lover on the nostrils if you love a nice herbally rye. It's mixed with a little bit of oak, but not much. It is there, just a little bit of nutty oak coming in. But what I love about this is I feel like I'm holding a handful of rye and just soaking it in, and there's this mint that comes through on top of it, a little bit of a cocoa note in addition. Just a beautiful, beautiful smelling whiskey. All right, let's dive in. I'm not going to take a big sip out of this. I will tell you the secret behind this whiskey for me. I don't want to dilute it with water. I want to drink it the way it is, but I am just putting a little bit on the palate. I'm not going to overly saturate the palate with this. Enough to work it around. Oh. I love rye. I really love rye. It's almost to a caraway seed rye. I mean, if you're a fan of rye bread, it's there. If you're a fan of mint chocolate chip ice cream, it is there too. Wow. I mean, just amazing the flavor impact that this has. I mean, it is definitely full, robust flavor, and it doesn't take a lot on the palate for you to go, whoa, there it is. So this is one of those whiskeys that, while it has been sitting towards the back of my cabinet, maybe for me to kind of, appreciate at a later time, it's going to move closer to the front of the cabinet because it is just such a good whiskey. And it may take me a long time to finish this bottle, even though now I've started to take a little dent out of it, because now that I've recalled how good this stuff really is, I don't have to pour a big glass of it. I can pour just a little bit and sip it and really enjoy it. It's very expressive. Love this whiskey and really enjoy what 291 puts out there. And they have rye whiskeys, but I'm telling you, the bourbon does a really nice job of bringing forward that rye characteristic. There's not a lot that I get out of this that I relate to a bourbon. I mean, is there some vanilla in there? Yes, on the palate. That's when I'm talking about that mint chocolate chip. There is that full experience going on there, but on the nose you don't tend to get so much, unless it's kind of mixed in maybe with the floral, mixed in with the herbally rye. But I don't tend to really pick it up, and I'm not picking up so much of a caramel note on this either. So if you're a traditional bourbon fan, this is probably not going to be necessarily something you'll enjoy. But if you love experimenting with ryes, which is a very complex grain and gives a lot of different flavors to it, this is an excellent whiskey. Have you had 291? What do you think of it? What distillery in Colorado have I not been to that I need to go to that I didn't just mention just a few moments ago? Maybe I can stick another distillery on my list, but at this point, it's probably going to be a pretty tight trip. But gonna also try to go to Coors Field. I've been to all but 9 major league ballparks. So, and I've looked down into Coors Field from the hotel next door when I was at Stranahan's last time I was in town, but didn't get a chance to go do that. So I'm gonna knock Coors Field off of my list of ballparks that I have seen in my life. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the review. Have yourself a great weekend, and until next time, cheers and Slainte.